Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today I'm doing my spoilery discussion of Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. So this will probably have spoilers for Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares. So if you haven't read those and you don't want to be spoiled for them, don't watch this. But this duology, I've just had a lot of mixed feelings about, but very strong feelings, so I wanted to talk about them. So I'm not gonna explain what this is about because I'm assuming that if you are watching this video, you've read this, you know what it's about. So I'm just gonna dive right in. I'm gonna try and make this as coherent as possible, but I have just like a lot of thoughts and feelings about this that I feel like I need to talk about. So we're gonna see how this goes. So first of all, I just want to say one of the things that I did like about this is that we got to know a lot more about the world and the magic. So we got to learn about this world, got to see that there are connections to like other portal worlds and how it's all like connected, and more about how this magic works. But something else I was wondering is that I know Laini Taylor has another series that I have not read, but I believe that one also has angels that come through like a portal in the sky from another world. And so I was wondering, are these in the same universe? Like, are those angels that came from another world to that world, like there were angels that came through a portal to this world? So like, are all of her series in the same universe, just in different worlds that have like portals to each other? I don't know, I haven't read that other series, but if you know that, please let me know. I would love to know if these are in the same world. The thing that I didn't really like about how the world building was done though was that it felt a little random to me, or maybe just that it wasn't explored enough, because we get all of this really cool information about these like portal worlds, and that they can like cut a hole in the sky and like travel to other like, you know, worlds. And I just think that sounded really cool, but it really was not explored or explained very much. So it ended up just feeling kind of random. And I really would have liked to know more about these other worlds. I think they sounded interesting, and I think that I would have loved to like have more about them, even just like a little more explanation, instead of just being like, oh yeah, there are other worlds and like this one's red. That's about it. I don't know, I just would have wanted more there. But part of that is because like it sounded cool, it sounded interesting, and I just would have loved to have more of it. I like some of the character growth that happened for some of the other characters in this, like the other god spawn, like Ruby, Sparrow, and then, is it pronounced Feral? I don't remember how you say his name, but the three of them, I like that their characters seemed to grow a little bit. I think they became a little more self-aware, they got a little bit of a backbone and stood up to Minya a little bit, or at least tried to help Sarai. Like, they just, you know, they like did a little bit more. So I liked that their characters grew a little. And I also liked Thion's, is that how you say his name? I don't know how to say any of these characters' names, but Thion, I liked his character arc, that he definitely grew and became a more self-aware person, more thoughtful, more aware of other people. And, you know, I liked that he grew. I kind of wanted more about him because I think that he was becoming a more interesting character, but I definitely liked the kind of growth that he went through. Since we've been spending more time with like the god spawn and with Laszlo, now that he has powers, we're getting to learn more about like what their powers are like as they are kind of learning themselves and kind of trying to push the boundaries and figure out what they can and cannot do. So I thought that was really cool. I also liked the flashbacks that we got with the two sisters, Nova and Cora. I thought that was interesting, that we did get to learn more about their world, although I still, again, would have liked to know even more about it. But I thought that their story was interesting. They were interesting as characters. I actually got more invested in those few flashbacks than I was in the main story. I was really interested in like their sisterly bond and like what was going to happen with them. I also was more interested in it because it was giving us more information about their world, and then also the other blue people, which I can't remember the name of right now, but we were finding out more about the world that they came from and their magic and that like God's metal stuff. So I was actually really interested in those flashbacks. The only thing though is then they took those characters and pretty much just created another Minya character. Like, this is the thing I'm going to talk about in a second, that I just like hate Minya so much. But they pretty much just like recreated her character again. They like, when it got towards the end and we find out, which sister was it? Nova? I think Nova is the one who was looking for Korra. That Nova pretty much just becomes essentially the same like single-minded, vengeful character as Minya with slightly different powers. And I don't know, I just felt like I would have liked more variety in the villains, and I just found that really frustrating that we just got like, again, the exact same villain. So I was like, does Laini Taylor only know how to create one villain? Or I don't know if they're even count as villains, but like antagonist, whatever you want to call it. But like, it just made it seem like she only knew how to do one kind of villain. But I also was thinking like, maybe it's because there's like a certain element, like maybe she's trying to explore a particular concept, like this idea of like vengefulness, and trying to kind of make the story come full circle in a way. I mean, maybe that's what she was trying to do. I don't know. It just got frustrating for me as a reader. But speaking of Minya, I hate Minya so much. Oh my god. And like, again, she may be not even totally like a villain, more of an antagonist. I did like that we find out more about her backstory. I thought that her backstory was interesting and it added some interesting layers to her character. And the way that it explained kind of what's been going on with her, about how like the pressure of having all of these like hundreds or thousands of ghosts and the level of like hatred that's just like weighing on her at all times, and her being able to release that, and the way that she's been burning up like her life force trying to like hold all of this magic. Like, I thought that that was all really interesting. That did not stop me from hating her. It's just like this feeling in my chest that I can't explain, just, oh my god, I couldn't stand her. And I think that, you know, maybe that means that she's a really good character, because because it wasn't that I hated her because she was poorly written. So maybe that just means she's a really good character because she elicited such a strong reaction, such a strong feeling that I can't even explain. It's just like this visceral feeling that I just could not stand her. And I think that also was really a deterrent for me, that made me like not want to read the book, because I just did not want to deal with her. I also was just like really frustrated with Laszlo in this book, like right off the bat, because I feel like, this is gonna be an unpopular opinion, but I think that he should have let Sarai die. I think that he should have just been like, yeah, let her ghost go, let her die. Because the thing is, they've known each other for like, what, is it like a week, a month? He's barely known Sarai. It was like a ridiculous insta-love. And like, she's already dead. She's a ghost now. But he is even, like, the fact that he even considers putting the city in danger, and like he's even conflicted about whether he should help Minya to save Sarai, or whether he should like let Sarai go to protect the city. The fact that he's even conflicted about this, just, oh my god, I can't stand it. I was so mad at him. I was like, you've known her for barely any time. She's one person against an entire city, and she's already dead. Let her die. Let her go. Oh my god. Like, I was so mad at him. And I know that it ends up working out for the best, and it ends up being like, oh, but like if he had let her die, then Minya wouldn't have gone through her whole like arc of character growth and development. They wouldn't have had the resources they need to fight off Nova, like all of these things. I get that. But I actually really hate it when stories do things like this, when the characters making bad or stupid decisions are what propels the story forward and makes it work out for the best. So like if they had done the reasonable thing, the responsible thing, the logical thing, then it all would have fallen to pieces. But them being irresponsible, illogical, being stupid, being reckless, being selfish, all of that, that's what makes it turn out for the best. I hate that. First of all, just because it means that they're rewarded for being stupid and they would have been punished for being responsible and logical. But also because it makes it feel like there are no consequences. Because then also anytime they do something that is really stupid, or they clearly make the wrong choice or something, you know that there's going to be some workaround. There's going to be something that just magically makes it work out all right. And there are no stakes. There are no consequences, because no matter what they do, the plot forms itself around them to make it work, instead of them actually having to do the right thing or do something that makes sense. It just, it's so frustrating. And there were so many things in this that just made it feel like there were no consequences. Also, the fact that, what's his name, Errol Fane or whatever his name is, the God Slayer guy, he comes back to life. Like, I was glad that he came back to life because I liked him. I didn't want him to die. But also, again, it made it feel like there were no consequences. And even the woman he's in love with comes back to life. Like, I was very conflicted about this because I liked both of them. I wanted them to be happy. I didn't want them to be dead and sad and all of that. But also, zero consequences. Everybody pretty much ends up fine. Everyone pretty much ends up happy. Everything is fixed. They don't even like kill off like an unimportant side character really, so that you can, you know, have at least some kind of bittersweet, like there's nothing. Everything just ends up perfectly, and it's too perfect, and there's no consequences, and it's just the characters making really bad choices, and then the plot is forced to be around them instead of actually making sense. And it also just made the plot and the whole book so predictable. There were so many things that were so predictable, and I just was never worried about what was going to happen because you knew it was all going to be fine. Even in the part where they get like dumped out of the God's Metal building and they're in the town, and then like Minya's power is going to disappear, so Sarai's soul is going to be lost and all of that. Like, that's supposed to be a really stressful moment, but like I knew the whole time that they were gonna somehow magically find like a piece of God's Metal and that it was all gonna be fine. Like, there was never a point where I was worried about anything bad happening because there were no stakes, because we always know that the plot is just going to be forced around these characters to make everything work out. And then I just had one last thing that I did not like about this that I wanted to mention, which is the way that it treated suicide. So at the end of the book, Nova, I think, she commits suicide, that she kills herself at the end of the book. And the way that suicide is framed in this book is as freedom. That it is a way to kind of take back who she is and find freedom and happiness and to be, and I just think that that's such a harmful and bad way of framing suicide as something positive and as a way of being free and finding happiness. So clearly I had a lot of mixed feelings about this book. A lot of them were negative, but a lot of my negative feelings about it were because it did draw me in and then made me angry. So I guess that it did its job in that it was a story that drew me in and got me invested enough to be as angry as I got. So it definitely elicited strong emotions. But yeah, I think overall I didn't like it. I don't know. I didn't rate this book because I just really cannot figure out how I feel about it. So I was hoping that reading the second book would helped me figure out how I felt about the first book, because I was also very conflicted about the first book. But this cleared up absolutely nothing. Except maybe I've decided that I don't like this series. I think that might be the thing. I think that I've decided I don't like this series, and I don't really like Laini Taylor's books. Although, to be fair, I've only read 2 of her books, but the other series does not sound interesting to me, and this is supposed to be like her really good series that like everybody loves. So I think that she is not going to be an author for me, and I don't think I'm going to be reading other stuff from her probably. Which is disappointing because I kind of wanted to love her books, but I think that I've decided that I don't like them. I don't know. I'm so confused. So that is all for my discussion of Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I know that this is a series that a lot of people really love, but I would love to hear from you what you thought of this book. I probably will get a lot of people disagreeing with me because I know it's very popular, but thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye.